Hello, hello, hello. Yo, this is the definition of by any means necessary, right? I am in the car, just about to pick up my daughter. I've got maybe 20 minutes um, before I need to walk. So, with the new one at home, this is the only time I'm going to get. Yesterday I tried 2 minutes. Let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it. I am off of my phone, so things might be a bit slow. I don't need to see a preview. I just need to see the code. And we did this yesterday. I should have brought my glasses. But we are going to start with declaring a calculate variable and assigning it an empty function. Cool. So let's go. We did this yesterday, but we might as well do this again, because why not? Empty function. And by now we know our function syntax like the back of our hand. Next. Yeah, so we actually got up to this point yesterday where we noticed that in this program, it looks like, in this challenge, it looks like we're going straight for building some of this functionality into the function. So before, we would have had a bunch of sort of what I keep calling element handlers. I don't know if that's the right way to call it. But we would have like document query buttons, document query inputs, and all of those will be handled by various variables at the top of the JavaScript file. We started off our JavaScript file with a calculate function, and within it we are going to use a query selector to grab the numbers input field and assign it to a variable value within the calculate function itself. So maybe a new approach, maybe this is what you're supposed to be doing. As we're going, we're learning, so let's keep going. So here we want to grab the number that was entered into the hashtag numbers input field. I'm going to presume that's this one. To do that, we're going to use query selector to locate the input field and then use the dot value property to get the number entered. Now, but up to this point, we've been using a lot of get element by IDs. So we've been doing the document.gets element by ID and then providing the ID of the elements. That's one way to grab it. We've used class names to grab a bunch before. We're using query selector here. And query selector just uses a CSS selector. CSS selectors being the IDs and classes that we give to these elements. So our ID, and we know it's an ID because of the hashtag numbers is our ID. We're going to use dot query selector to grab that and find the dot value property of it, because it's its own object, and we'll have a dot value property and assign that to our variable called value. So I'm going to go ahead and declare value to be equal to, so we're going to grab the element first, document dot query selector and we're going to give it a CSS selector as a string, which is hashtag numbers. So actually, in this case, it doesn't matter if it's an ID or if it's a class or if it's, there's locator strategies, which will mean that you can chain CSS selectors together. So maybe you've got a element that lives within a div that's under a select, whatever. You can then chain select div, and then maybe it's a heading. And by chaining that together, you have given it like the CSS's address, as you were, and you can use that in document selector as well. So query selector as well. So query selector is quite versatile, where by ID you can only use IDs, by class name you can only use class names. Query selector allows you to be a little bit more flexible. So this would then be our, before or in previous challenges we've done, we'll have a value and document dot get element by ID numbers, and that will be the sort of object, the element handler within the script. Now here, that's what document.query selector hashtag numbers is. So then we can step through that with dot notation and go to our value. So I'm saying the value property of the element at query selector hashtag numbers is value. So now that we have the value, we need to split it into an array of numbers. We use the .split method to do this. Now we know .split allows us to manipulate the elements of an array, I believe, with a specific query selector. Yes. No, not query selector, with a specific defined separator. So where we've been doing this with words, we've been using like a empty quotes to indicate just, literally the space, the no space effectively, because empty quotes is kind of no space. The no space between letters is our separator. So for Peter, P-E-T-E-R is effectively separated without spaces. And by saying that we want to use the non-space as a separator, we will again P-E-T-E-R. Here we are entering a list of comma separated numbers. So we already have a separator there in the comma. So we're going to use split, and we're going to use split with the comma as the separator to grab it. We're also going to use regular expression to split the value string by commas. You can tweak it based on the number of spaces separating your values. Store the array in an array variable. Okay. So that's interesting, because from here I would have expected just to do const array is equal to value dot split comma, and this should do what I'm thinking it should do. But we're going to use regular expression to split the value string by commas. I am confused as to how I do this. Oh. Oh, okay. Why are we doing that? Right, so I initially presumed that we actually had, because we've got comma separated numbers, we've got a comma there already. But we're using regular expression because we want to then catch other patterns. It feels like it's overkill. I don't quite understand it. But one thing we're learning is that you don't need to understand everything. Like legit, you don't need to understand everything. You can that doesn't seem like it's right. Okay, so maybe we'll come to see how this becomes useful later on, but we're using the regular expression to be the separator. I don't know why. And yeah, like I said, we don't necessarily need to know why for everything, because things start to sort of fall into place or make sense as we go. So, a bit of hand waving there, a bit of okay, cool, whatever you say. But yeah, I don't really understand this, and I'm hoping by the end of it I'll see why we need to do it this way and it not be overkill as well. Brief break as we are reminded that we are using this FreeCodeCamp for free, without offering any support. I will support. I just can't right now. I'm waiting for the bonus to come in. Kind of. It's free though, so I should be able to use it for free. I am using it for free. They're asking that you support isn't a bad thing either. Cool. The value of an input element is always a string, even if the input type is number. Oh, I need to go back and do a video on my recursion because this came up then. The idea was I had an input of type number in the HTML and presumed that what that then meant was it would automatically sort of make it a number for me. That's not necessarily true. What that means is that you can't enter a number as you are going. That does not, however, restrict. That does not, however, mean it comes through as a number. What we're finding out here is that the value is always going to be a string. So when we put in a value and it's all numbers and it's all nice, actually that comes through as a string on thingy. On the other side and in the JavaScript side of things. That was one of the issues we're having with our recursion converter, which was elements were coming through as strings, and so when they hit that first if statement, it was never going to work because it was always going to be picking up a string. And so we had to do some parse ints, which might not be doing that here. We had to make sure we converted it into an integer before we did the first comparison. So yeah, we were doing that late in the second one because of what we're doing. But yeah, so I will do a video on that because one of the devs at my workplace, shout out to Emma, got that working just in a matter of seconds of using a console log type of, which again is something I want to show you. But yeah, anyway, so the input element is always a string, even if the input type is number. I'll show you what that is here. So we have input type on submit we're calling calculate, which is cool, but into list form, input type, name, numbers. Okay. So here, we could have made this input type numbers. It's text here, which is fine. Which does mean that I can enter in 1, 2, 3. If it was numbers, actually, let's see if I can just quickly do that. Numbers, number. Then if I type in 1, 2, it won't accept it. It accepts E because E has a designation as a number. But yeah, it won't accept any text because it's a number. But yeah, and that's by the by. The value, so you need to convert this array of strings into an array of numbers, and you can use the map method. We know the map method will create a new array from whatever array it's executed on, and it will create a new array from that array based off of a function that you give it. Create a numbers variable and assign the value of array.map. Remember that map creates a new array instead of mutating the original one. So it's non-destructive in that the original array remains constant. So we've got our array from the value. We're now going to create a new one, const numbers, which is equal to array dot map. I thought we should be offering it a thing. So let's see. I thought we would have to give it a callback function. My internet is about to go. That said, I'm not streaming, so it's cool. Yeah, so we do have to give it a function. It might just be that we'll do that in the next step. Okay, so The map method takes a callback function as its first argument. The callback function takes a few arguments, but the first is the current element being processed, which is the callback function needs to return a value. In this case, you want to return the value of each element converted to a number. You can do this by using the number constructor, passing the element as an argument. Add a callback function to your map method that converts each element to a number. So let's say, I would have thought we'd use an explicit return. I would think we'd use an explicit return for something like this. But I also feel like it's going to. So ideally, let's use this. Let's say. So, I'm going to say L element. This is an implicitly returning number L. Oh, and it took it. Cool. So I should have been able to do that with X and it'll still take it. But yeah, implicit return of the element being passed through as the argument for the number constructor. So each element of the new map will just be element from array put through the number constructor, and we can look at what the number constructor does here. I would presume it would just make it a number. Yeah, so number 1 to 3 does that. It's not a number, it's not a number. And the final is just not a number, so cool, that's what number method does. Cool, how long have we got? Alright. So our filter method will, as the name suggests, filter stuff out. So it integrates a shallow copy of a portion of a given array, filtered down to just elements that pass the test implemented by the function. So I think filtered also is non-destructive. I can't prove that just yet. But anyway, all we are doing here is we're going to play a new one, filtered. And we go to numbers, filter. And we need to then provide it a test. We're going to leave it empty for now. And I'm going to leave this one for now. I'm going to go pick up my daughter. It's Tuesday, 19th of March. Just finished this at about 3:10. thank you for rocking with me. Thank you for bearing with me. Thank you for the patience. Truly, truly appreciate it. Past couple of days have been very rocky. Rocky in terms of being able to come in and turn up. I've tried to turn up. I've turned up twice under the 18 minutes, but in the grand scheme of things, the days I've done 30, it levels up. But that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for the consistency. That's why it was important to me to show up. Anyway, yesterday I was, I'd shown up at a time which I should be able to get a good, 20 minutes in. That didn't quite happen. It's cool. I got called out 2 minutes in. Such is life. We might be recording these for a while. I will record it on the day. I will record it in the car, but it's just because the internet isn't reliable enough to stream. When I'm doing it off of my phone's hotspot, and the network gets super congested once the kids get out of school. But yeah, yo, thank you so much. Keep showing up. Keep showing up. Keep showing up. Keep showing up. I can't stress it enough. If you show up, you're getting closer to your goals. So, peace. Thank you guys, and yeah, have a good one.